Good morning. So I just got up and I've been having these downloads or understandings. I've been going through it a little bit, and I still keep finding these tiny little places where I'm out of alignment. So the further we get along on this spiritual awakening, we start getting into the very fine details of it. It's like sifting fine sand and finding the whatever is impure. I had this dream, not last night, but the other night. And one moment, it was a really long dream, and I slept through it, and it was really strange. And at one part of the dream, I was going to meet my shaman for some reason at the top of this hill. And my car wouldn't go straight up the hill, so I had to kind of go around. And as I was going around, I started seeing that there was snow. And then I started seeing, but it was like it had just started snowing. And it's really funny because right now we're coming into a weekend where it's going to be the lowest temperatures it's been since I can ever remember. So I'm just kind of getting ready to stay all weekend in the house. I just got up. It's early. I haven't been sleeping very well lately. So you can see that the sun is just coming up now. And I didn't even meditate yet. And I just felt like I had to get this out. And so I had this dream, and I was coming up this mountain. I went around, and I was coming, and all of a sudden I started seeing snow. And I started seeing a car that was coming towards me started slipping around on black ice and like floating on the road. And then I started feeling like I was floating. And then I started seeing that all the cars all around were just slipping in this black ice, and there was a big truck coming, and it was also slipping on the ice. And we were all going really slow because it was in this little village. And of course, I can't find my phone, and I can't get a hold of the shaman, and there's all the things that I have to go pee, and there's no bathroom, and so all of these things are going on during the dream too. But I got to, and I really had to go pee, and I think that's why in the dream I had to go pee. But so I'm slipping, and then I said, okay, I just want to be able to stop on the side of the road, and so then I just slowly slid over, and I stopped at the side of the road right before the intersection. But then I could still see that truck was coming, and it was sliding, and then it went down. There was like a T there, and it went down the road. But I could see that even though I was stopped on the side of the road and I was not moving, that I was still in harm's way because all of the cars around me were slipping, and all I could do is hope that nobody was going to run into me. And then, like, some force came in and grabbed my car and just slowly and surely pulled me backwards on the road all the way out to where there was no ice, all the way out to where there was no snow anymore, and I was safe. And while I was being pulled, I remember it was just obvious to me, this is the hand of God. This is what it feels like when God comes in and just does the work for you. And it was kind of like I got to a point where there was nothing I could do but just sit there and give up, surrender. And the second that I surrendered, I wasn't hoping there was nothing for me to do. The second I surrendered, the hand of God came in and pulled me back. It doesn't matter what you call it, right? Some force came in. It was out of my hands. And when I gave up and surrendered and just went, there's nothing I can do, then everything worked out. And it really stuck with me because it was like, oh, that's what it was. Such a warm and such a like relieving feeling that, wow, I don't have to do all this by myself. There are higher forces here than I. And once I completely gave up power, it was done for me. So the path was it's like you could say that the path opened up for me, or I was guided, or however it's a lot of what I speak about here on the channel is just letting go and allowing the flow to come in, trust that everything is going to work out, that everywhere that you are in every single moment, you got there because of reasons. I got where I am because of reasons. So anything, and it's like a big input system, right? Whatever I put in, I get out. But then we don't even know what we're putting in a lot of times, because we're putting in things from our subconscious, the way that, and we're even perceiving things different. We could perceive things in 100 different ways, right? What happens to, 100 people could get into the exact same situation, and each of them perceive it and emotionally go through it completely different. So there is nothing that is set in stone. And what I got, because of so it's kind of connected to what I was going through yesterday. And I'm not going to get into the details, because the details are I don't think important. I might get into them. We'll see. But yesterday I found some places that I was completely off. And not completely off. It's like little tiny things. And I was so upset with myself. And like really upset with myself and crying, throwing a fit, really. And I know that because I was just feeling so bad. And it's for little things, it's little minuscule things. But when you find them, and when we're this far along on the spiritual awakening, and that is our main, the thing that is the most important to us in our life is our spiritual work, and being able to align ourselves. And when we find these things, it used to be that I was so far out of alignment that nothing bothered me. Because when you're that far out of alignment, you're not even looking for alignment. You don't even know what the taste of alignment feels like. Thank you for coffee. It's my first coffee. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. And what I'm realizing, there's a few things I'm realizing. I'm realizing that the places that we find that we're off, the are in the details, and they're in the behaviors or the circumstances. So we'll find something that we did that we're super not proud of ourselves of it, that something that we're not proud to tell, and I'm not talking about big things that are obvious. I'm talking about little things that are like, you didn't pay attention to something that was small, that had you been in complete openness and surrender, you would have paid attention to that, and you would have noticed that, and that behavior wouldn't have come out of you. And it's always in the places that we're holding. I keep on saying again and again and again, because I keep realizing again and again and again during this spiritual awakening that all of the answers are in letting go of expectation, not trying to determine the outcome. And a lot of times it's elusive, because we can think topically that we let go, but underneath, if you didn't really truly let go of trying to control the outcome. Oh, I'll turn that off. I notice now it's making noise. Not in when we have expectation, and a certain belief, which the belief is things need to be a certain way, or I want things to be a certain way, or life would be so great if this certain way was, instead of life is great no matter what, and everything is exactly as it needs to be for a purpose, and wherever I am now is a complete and accurate interpretation or outcome of everything that has led up to this point. And I could not be in a different place than I am. And not only could I not be, all of the lessons, if I don't like the output, everything that brought the output is uh, available for me to see. It's just that if I'm stuck in my mind and I'm stuck in these beliefs, then I can't see them. It's like we can't see ourselves. So I can look at another person or a situation, and I can really easily see the dynamics or the energy or the places. But on myself, when I turn that mirror around, when you are in the behavior, it feels so much different to be in a situation, because there's these little sticky points that are these little sticky beliefs, these little sticky wants, these little sticky points that are holding you in that place, and you are blind to them because the things that the belief systems that were put in you have integrated within you your whole life, things that you believe from before you even have memory, before you even know why you believe them, that were integrated in you, and generational emotional imprints from your parents, not even things that they said, but the way that they were there. And it created these beliefs that we're so stuck in, that they're a given for us, right? It's like when we want to change our belief and we want to say, I've talked a lot about manifestation. So if you want a certain kind of life, you have to believe that it is true for you. You have to step into it. It has to be such a strong belief that it becomes second nature, that it becomes obvious, that it's not a big aha. Because when it's a big aha, you're still separate from it. You're still looking at it. When it's integrated in you, it's part of you. And now it's the same thing opposite when you're trying to remove these beliefs that you have, or these places, these sticky points. They're in you, and they're like the obvious. You have to start removing them and bring them out and go, there you are. That's what you are. And then you still have the work of creating stimulation in your life, which will create the situations where that sticking points, whatever the beliefs, the old belief system, it will butt its head up and bring its behaviors with it, right? Because there, you can see it like this entity that's like, a belief. It pops up, and it comes with it all of its box of ta-da! It has a box of toys, of tools, and all of those tools are like behaviors, patterns of behavior that we have been behaving like this our whole lives, and you have to start recognizing. So to find these little beliefs, the way to find them, the way to access them and to see them, is through the behavior or through the situations in your life. So let's say yesterday there was a behavior that I had that I feel like wasn't, and I woke up this morning that I wasn't gracious, or wasn't completely aligned. I was still acting out of a place of scarcity, because these things that we're finding, they're always out of lack. They're always out of, if I'm trying to pull a certain outcome, it's because I feel lack of that outcome. So it's always lack. And so I was still behaving in a way of that thing that I want is scarce to me. I don't, it's not available for me, and it's still ruling my behaviors. It's such little things. It's like finding, but these little things, they're the most painful, because we already thought that we had come so far and we've overcome this, and then we find this little sticking point where we weren't gracious, and we're like, what is that? Where did that come from? But it's an opportunity. I'm seeing now, first, you go down in the hole, you start beating yourself up, and you start crying, because you have to. There is it has to be detrimental. It has to have a strong enough impact on you for you to be able to say, never again, I don't want that. And so yesterday I found two or three of these little behaviors. They're always connected to the same thing. That's why on this, if you're on the twin flame journey is so good for this because it reflects yourself back to yourself so easily. But even it is the spiritual awakening, but also the spiritual awakening when you are coming into your divine self, and then you have these behaviors that pop up out of nowhere. They have always been there, but it's all of a sudden that you realize them. It's so painful because you want to be beyond it, and you're not. And then you realize, what was that? Where did that come from? And there's a lot of strength in being able to, because when I found those behaviors and I started crying, I broke down crying. I was just like, the pain of it. And I realized that crying is pushing against. Crying is not accepting, or sometimes crying is accepting. It's just the relief of accepting. But yesterday it was crying that I was beating myself up. I was like, how could you have done that? Why did you do that? And why didn't you act more gracious? And then I realized that, so I'm going to pause this so I can get back, because I fell back into the emotion and now I need to rise back above it. Just a sec. So, and then you realize that it's not the behavior that I need to be pushing against. It's whatever caused that behavior. The belief, the holding on, the trying to control, the expectation, or the wanting for things to be different is still underlying. And that is what is causing that behavior, because beating myself up over the behavior is ludicrous. The behavior is there because of the belief that's underneath. Otherwise, that behavior could not have popped out of me if it hadn't been in me. And so I can use looking at that behavior, what caused that behavior, right? Because had I been a completely purified, enlightened, not had that place underneath that I'm still holding, the place underneath where I still have some kind of expectation of outcome, that behavior could not have come out. And that behavior was from a place of lack. So one of my big things that I'm working on, one of the big issues, is that when I was raised, we were raised, my father's an historian, and we were raised in a very loving family, very, very close family. We moved around a lot, but we were always very poor. And there was always this belief that there isn't enough and that you have to work really, really hard. Yeah, you always have to, it's this constant pressure of having to be like a workhorse. And this constant pressure of, if I don't do it, I'm not worthy. It's not going to happen. So you always are running after the things that you want to have happen in your life. And I keep on finding again and again and again, and every single point on this spiritual awakening, I keep on finding that I find something and then it's like, oh, poof, release. Once I release it, those behaviors will not come, will not pop their head up again, because they won't, what is causing the programming will be gone. So, and I'm finding again and again and again that it's always in when you let go, when you release. And now, it doesn't mean don't take action. It doesn't mean just fall down on the floor and lay in a ball. But it means that one thing that I've been getting over and over and over is take inspired action. Your income is not always directly connected. And when you take inspired action, it's going to lead you into where you are most naturally capable. Because what you're inspired to do is what is aligned with your inner being, is what you will be the best at. And once you start allowing yourself, and quit trying to push yourself down this path that you're not supposed to go down, because it's so difficult to go down. things that are coming to you difficult, there's a reason why it's difficult. Something is out of alignment there. So you have to recognize whether it's difficult because you're out of alignment with it, or if it's difficult because of your perception and because of fear of it, right? Because sometimes when we're going after our dreams, it can be difficult because we're afraid, because it feels so expansive. All of a sudden, we don't feel safe. And that's what we want. We want to get that expansion. But opening ourselves up like that, we're also becoming vulnerable. We're also, if we're going after our dreams and it doesn't succeed, then, if we're going after something we don't really want and we don't succeed, it's like, okay, well, I didn't really want it, so I don't really have to pay a price. But if I'm going after what I always dreamed of and it doesn't work out, then typically what I've noticed in my life is that if I'm going after something that I always dreamed of and it's not working out, I realize along the way somewhere that, wow, that's not what I thought it was. I had false beliefs. And that gets me closer to what yes, because it's like we are sifting through life. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. We start going down one path. It's like, okay, this isn't aligned. Good morning. My son just got home at 6 o'clock in the morning. So... So really what I'm finding, in a minute, I'll be done. Really what I'm finding is that it is always in letting go. It is always in releasing control, surrender, and not being attached to that outcome. And when you let go of the outcome, and I'm finding this also along my path, because there's so many areas that I've surrendered into, is that when you let go of a specific outcome, you open opportunity and option for many different outcomes that you could have never imagined being holding on and eyes on this one little specific outcome. And it's so painful because there's things that we really believe that we want so bad. And it's elusive because the more you hold on and the more you have this expectation, you're trying to force yourself down this certain path. The more narrow your sight becomes, and the more pain you're in, because if that outcome is not coming to be, you are in constant frustration and constant pain. It's like this book that I'm reading. I'll show it to you because it's such a good book, and it's very small. It's U2, so it's U, and it's like U squared, and it is a high velocity formula for multiplying your personal effectiveness in quantum leaps. It is an excellent book. It's like a really small book, really quick read. And it starts out with this fly on this window pane trying to push its way out the window pane. And behind it, there's a door that's open, but it's so set on trying to get out that window that it can't even see that there's a way of freedom right behind it. And the author writes that little fly is going to die there on that window pane, pushing towards something that will never be. And it's such a powerful saying. It keeps on coming up to me again and again and again. So the point of this, the big point that I'm trying to make is to let go, to surrender, and that we can find those beliefs, those small beliefs that are managing our life from underneath, that are creating these behaviors that we don't want, through the behaviors, through the circumstance. So the thing that we find that we did that we're so upset about ourselves, why did I do that? Start picking that apart. Don't be afraid of it and not look at it. I'm so embarrassed of it. I don't even want to think of it. I'm embarrassed of myself. No, start picking at it, because the cause of that, see, we shouldn't be pushing against the behavior. This is a good thing that this behavior came up, because we shouldn't be pushing against the behavior. We should be looking for what caused that. And it is always a sense of lack or fear, which fear and lack, and look at it with love. And and what is the expectation that I wanted, right? Because whatever that behavior is going to be out of alignment with that expectation or whatever it is that you wanted. It's going to be, you're going to find what you're holding on to. So there's so many things that you can find in this little behavior. You can find what it is that what my expectation was, because I'm upset because my expectation did. What was that expectation? And a lot of times at first, even the expectation will be elusive because we hide these things from ourselves. It's kind of like this defense mechanism that we have. So what was that expectation? And if we can find that expectation, we can try to release that expectation. That expectation is going to lead us back to whatever it is, the belief that we have. Why do I believe that I need this thing? What is it answering? And then you can find that underlining belief. You can also follow the emotion. When did I feel this emotion before? Follow it back to early childhood. So there's so many ways to pick this apart. So having that come up, first of all, feeling the pain, because when we have these things that we're finding out of alignment, there's going to be pain. If there isn't pain, then there is no incentive to change, right? But you don't have to sit in that pain. You can find the pain. You can go through it in intense. And yesterday I found like 3 or 4 different little points that I was just not divine. It wasn't anything really bad. It was things like not being aware, not being awake, not being aware, and not being aware to myself, and finding that I'm still holding on in places. And I know that this enlightenment, this spiritual awakening is leading us towards pure enlightenment. And pure enlightenment is just openness. What is. Of course, we can maneuver our lives to create a magnificent life that we want, but we can't be holding on to baggage. We can't be flying through life with this beautiful feelings, holding on to all of these beliefs that are out of alignment with the divine. So it's all part of the process. And the more we let go of this baggage, the more light our life becomes. Light feeling, the less weight we have, and the more light we have, because our life becomes open to multiple opportunities and options, and everything is open to us, not just this one little narrow path that we believe that all of our options are within this little tiny path. That's what we were taught in school. That's what we were taught by society. There's a certain way that you have to be, but when you look around the world and you travel the world, you can see that there's so many different ways of being. There is no one way. And the only reason that we're stuck in this little tiny path is because our mind, we have like these, what are those called? The horses, right? They have those blinders on, because we believe and these blinders were put on us as children before we had our own judgment. But now we've like adopted them. We took them on our back, and we hold these blinders on ourselves. And so I am sending you guys so much love. If you'd like to contact me and have a one-on-one session, my contact information is below. I'm going to go, I didn't even meditate yet. I just got up straight and made this video because all of this was coming in. And that in that dream, the feeling of God's hand coming in and pulling me back, or a higher force, or I felt, I'm so grateful for that, because I felt like what it feels like when you let go and you're held. It's like, it's beyond me. It's above me. There's nothing I can do in this situation. And then it's like a life light comes in and saves you. It's like, I'm safe. And I know that that's where we're headed on this spiritual awakening. So sending you so much love. Thank you for watching.